Hello everyone, Parallel here, and welcome to Star Trek Online. Well, the Crystalline Entity Event is back again, and it has some updated rewards, so I thought I'd go ahead and create this video and take a look at what the new event has to offer, and also check out the new updated reward and actually see if it's worth it and what the stats are on it. And I thought I'd also just go ahead and create a little guide as well for the Crystalline Entity Event in case anyone is unfamiliar. This is a very good event. Usually the rewards are quite good, so I definitely recommend anyone who is within the level range to go ahead and take advantage of this. These rewards are typically very good, and they're also quite exclusive. They never come back again. So let's start out there. Let's start out with an overview of the event itself. All right. Let's go ahead and pull back up the UI. Now, like I said, this is it's actually a periodic event. This event, the Crystalline Entity Event, comes back to Star Trek Online once or twice a year, I'd say. It has the rather annoying habit of coming back right before a recruit event. For example, like right before the Delta recruit event, there was a Crystalline Entity event that gave out the Crystalline Energy Torpedo, which is an excellent torpedo. And the bummer there is that the Delta recruits will never, my Delta recruit alt will never be able to enjoy that torpedo. And likewise, this event is coming out right before the Agents of Yesterday expansion, which will also have some kind of a recruit event going. So let's take a look at the event itself here, and what am I pull up? Take a look at the event itself here and how long it's going to be running, and let's take a look at the reward, and we can see what the stats are in the reward, and actually, see how depressing it will be for our Agents of Yesterday alt that we're all going to create, because they will never have access to this reward. All right, so here is the event. It runs from now until June 9th. And basically, this is a very straightforward event. All you have to do is go up to your PvE queues, and you will see right here in the featured queue area that there's the Crystalline Cataclysm queue, and there's also the Crystalline Cataclysm Advanced. You can run either one for the event, and all the event entails is you run this queue, you run either one of these queues once per day, and you have to do that for 14 days, and you will be able to collect, each time you complete it for those 14 days, you will collect one of these, a crystal shard. Once you have 14 of these, after completing it for 14 days, all you have to do is come over here to your Reputation tab on your character sheet, go down to the Events tab, and you will see here, go to a new project slot, and you will see here a special project for the Crystalline Entity Event. And we'll go through all the rewards and everything you get. So you go ahead and queue that up. Now, all you have to do is complete this project, and you will get the reward. Now, you can see I actually have 14 of the crystal shards. This is actually from the previous event. I stored these up. So unlike the winter and summer events, you can actually carry over the crystalline shards from event to event. It's the same currency for all of the Crystalline Entity events when it returns. So that's a nice thing. So you can kind of stockpile them up. If you run it, if you run it every day, you will actually have more than 14 by the time the event ends. So you can kind of hold those in storage until the next event comes around. So that's kind of cool. So that's the plus side of the Crystalline Entity Event. Now the downside is, and you should definitely be aware of this, is that it is not an account-wide unlock. The rewards for the Crystalline Entity Event are per character. So if you want this reward on all of your characters, you will have to run this on each of your characters once per day. That can become a little bit tedious if you are, for example, like me, and you have 11 alts. It gets a little bit tedious. But on the bright side, the Crystalline Entity queue is quite fast, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time. And the rewards are typically worth it. So why don't I go ahead and take a look at the reward right now, and we'll see if this one's worth it. So here's the reward you get. On top of the, the typical things you get a nice chunk of dill, a nice chunk of fleet marks, a box of reputation marks of your choice, and then you get the big, the big ultimate reward here. And this time it is the Console Universal Crystalline Absorption Matrix. And it is a pretty interesting looking console. You can see here it has 2 passives. It gives you a 17.8% all energy damage resistance rating and 17.8% anti-proton damage. So pretty decent passives. Energy damage resistance rating is nice. Kinetic is a little better in my opinion, just because whenever I find that my ship is destroyed, almost always it's from a torpedo crit from an NPC. So that's kinetic damage, but still, energy damage is still useful. Energy damage resistance, that is still useful. And it also has a clicky effect. And the clicky effect is Crystalline Absorption Matrix. So it gives you energy resistance plus random anti-proton damage. So 2 self plus 500 all energy damage resistance rating. That's quite a bit. There was a Reddit thread on this, and some of the devs were actually in there. I think it was Cryptic Spartan or Cryptic Rock. Sorry if I don't remember the exact dev, but they were in there giving a lot of good information on this, and they actually mentioned that 500 damage resistance rating is somewhere up in the range of 71 or 2% resistance rating. So that's a lot. When you pop this, that will vastly reduce your incoming energy damage. Though, like I said, you still have to watch out for the kinetic damage. Torpedoes from NPCs, particularly on higher difficulties, will still hurt a lot. Also, as part of the clicky, in addition to vastly increasing your resistance to energy damage, it also gives you every 3 seconds to 3 random targets in forward 180-degree arc. It will apply matter conversion beam for. It says 308.2 anti-proton damage. That's sometimes the tooltip's not right if you're not in space, so I'm not quite sure the actual damage this does. You have to test it out and actually see if it's any good. Once per second, when hit by energy damage, 13.3% bonus damage to the conversion beam. So basically, it's like if you're getting hit by damage, it will buff the damage that the conversion beam does. Now, again, going back to the Reddit thread with the devs, I believe they said that in this particular case, this matter conversion beam actually counts as weapon damage, not as exotic damage. So it should be buffed by things like your, if you have anti-proton damage, tactical consoles, it should be buffed by that. But it won't be buffed by, for example, that one trait, which I'm not remembering the name right now. What is it? Exotic? Particle manipulator. There you go. So it won't be buffed by that because it's not considered exotic damage. A little bit odd for a console. Usually they're exotic damage, but apparently in this case they wanted to go with making it weapon damage. Let's go back here to the project. So there it is. All in all, it looks like actually quite a good console. I mean, it's universal, so you can throw it into any slot, and it gives a solid anti-proton damage buff and a solid all energy damage resistance rating buff. And on top of that, it gives you the clicky. Now, the clicky sounds like it would be good for, even for its defensive capability. I mean, plus 500 all energy damage resistance rating is good just for that. So you can use it as a defensive clicky. Or, while you have that defense going, you also get that matter conversion beam to your frontal arc, which, again, I'll have to test it out really in space. We have to see how much damage it actually does. If it's impressive or not, who knows, but even if the damage isn't that great, you still get the defensive capability, and you still get the passives. So, overall, my initial impression, I think that this console will actually be pretty good. And then again, if you're a new level 50 to 60, so yes, you do have to be level 50, 60 to run the queue. But if you are in that level range and you are looking to gear up, I mean, this is certainly a good console. It's something that will help fill out your engineering consoles. Usually have a few extra of those. and it will give you a pretty solid damage resistance and anti-proton damage buff. So that is the reward. So looks good. Looks good. I'm having a good feeling about the reward. I think it'll be worth it. Now onto the actual queue itself. So like I said, I do want to give a little bit of a guide and maybe a couple just, I don't know if it's a guide is really the right word, but at least a couple of tips. A couple of tips on what to do for this queue. Now first of all, my first tip is this is one of the fastest queues in the game right now. Whoops, I don't want to bring up. Let's bring up the actual queue. This is one of the fastest queues you can do in the game right now. So even when the event is not running, this is still a pretty good queue to run, just for daily, just for doing a daily to get your like your bonus marks, or bonus fleet marks. If you're farming fleet marks, it'd be a very good time efficient way to do that. You can also get, normally I believe you can get, it's Nukara marks. But while the event is running, you get your choice of marks. So again, very good, very good queue to run. Definitely, even not during the event, it's a pretty good queue because it's so fast. But especially during the event, since you get the choice of the marks and you get the extra, the daily bonus of that crystal to complete your reputation, your event project, it just makes it that much more worth it. All right, so let's go ahead and queue up for, I will go ahead and show you the advanced version. Now, if you're curious, I will be running this in my, on my Science character, Science Federation character, and I'll be using the Science variant of the Tier 6 flagship, which is the Yorktown. And without going too much detail into the build, it's basically your typical feedback pulse build. So it is more or less an aggro tank build. All right, here we are. So it is basically an aggro tank build. So I'm going to go in here and start spamming some AoE abilities. Now you can see right here is the Crystalline Event. I'm going to go ahead and turn on Threatening Stance as well. So I do want to get some aggro. I'm running a Science build here, so I'm also, or that Science skill build. So I do have the probability manipulation trait there, which is a very nice little trait. Now, first thing, I guess the main thing you got to be aware of in the Crystalline Entity Event is once it gets to, once the Crystalline Entity first gets down to the 67% range, it will start doing this absorbing. You saw that there up above its name. When it's absorbing energy like that, you're going to want to keep an eye on that bar. Oh my gosh, this thing is dying fast. Okay, so it's right down to 33% and it's doing its second absorb. So while it's doing that, you're going to want to typically, if it's doing that absorb, you want to get out of range because it's about to do that big explosion. Oh my goodness, this thing is already dead and I barely even explained the fight. So that was a very high DPS team, and you can see why I say this is a very quick queue and why it's always worth running. But, okay, so that was fast. Let me just try to explain a few things that happened there. So I was trying to explain that when it's doing that absorbing effect, and let's get these items out of here, out of the way. While it's doing that absorbing effect, it will actually vastly reduce the amount of energy damage it is taking. So even though you're firing on it, you're not doing much damage during that absorption phase. I believe it still takes kinetic damage though, so if you have a torpedo build, it's very good on the Crystalline Entity. In fact, in general, the Crystalline Entity is more resistant to energy damage, and it's, makes this particular queue very good for torpedo builds. So while it's absorbing the energy, when the bar gets towards the end, you want to either be outside of 10-kilometer range, right? Or you want to use some kind of a defensive cooldown right when it's about to max out and then the Crystalline Entity does its explosion. Usually, there's a lot of good defensive cooldowns you can use, even just using like Brace for Impact. If you're in a pretty tanky ship, you should be okay to take the hit. But if you use like Brace for Impact, or also if you're a pilot spec, if you use Rock and Roll, that'll make you invulnerable for the time while the explosion goes. That's typically the way I like to do it. So you do that right at the end when it's about to activate that absorption and the explosion happens, and there you go. If you're farther than 10 kilometers away, if you're new to this map and you don't have any good defensive cooldowns, just get 10 kilometers away when it's about to blow and it won't hit you. And that is the main thing you need to keep track of. It does it twice, so it does it at 67% health, and then it does it at 33% health. So you have to watch out for 2 absorptions, so you have to kind of space your cooldowns if you're doing it that way, or you have to be prepared to, again, go out of the 10-kilometer range. Well, I'm about to get booted out here, so let me just go ahead. I'm going to claim my... So you get your choice of marks. And I'm just going to go with the fleet marks on this character. And there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and just get out of here and continue to try to explain what is different about this fight. So there is one thing more. So in addition to those, the 2 absorption phases, that's really the only thing you got to watch out for that really is going to risk you dying. And if you're doing the advanced version, part of the, one of the optionals in the advanced version is to not have, I believe it's 30% of your team die to one of those explosions. You have to, so you don't want to, be the one on your team to die and contribute towards failing that optional in the advanced queue. So those are the main things you got to watch out for, is the 2 absorption phases. Now, you don't need to, well, let me say this. There are a few other things in the event version of the Crystalline Entity versus the normal one, the normal queue. In the event version I was just running there, you might have actually noticed that there was some like black vortexes that open up. So during the event, there's like some random, I don't know, I want to call it modifiers or random conditions that are added to the queue. One of them is that, those blackout areas that block your vision. There's some other random things that can happen during the queue, like sometimes a bunch of mirror universe ships will warp in. You got to deal with them. Sometimes there is like a static that will scramble your sensors. So there's a few different things that can happen during the event. They're mostly just annoyances, more or less. They're not too much of a risk. Usually, as you can see in that queue that I just ran, usually everyone just focuses on the Crystalline Entity itself, not the Tholians all over the place. You just got to... You do have to be able to take some hits. You can see I was taking some damage there, and you do need to be able to take some hits. If you just plan on focusing on the Crystalline Entity event, there are a lot of Tholians flying around, a lot of Recluses that can actually dish out some damage. So you do have to be aware of that. So you do have to have at least some survivability in your build. All right, so hopefully that gave a little bit of an explanation. Now, the normal version of the queue, that was the advanced version that I just did, but the normal of the version of the queue is essentially the exact same thing, just that you don't have to worry about completing the optional, so it doesn't really matter that much if you die to the explosion. And the explosion itself, the actual charge up time of the absorption to when the explosion happens is quite a bit longer, so it gives you more time to get out of range if you need to. And also the explosion itself is not quite as damaging, so... if you're starting out, honestly, running the normal is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You get slightly less dilithium reward for the queue if you do the normal, but you still get what you're looking for the event. You still get the crystal shard. So I would say, if you're a newer player, level 50 or something, just run the normal queue. You can blow it out nice and fast and not have too much of a risk. And it gives you, if you are new to Crystalline Entity, it gives you a chance to practice it and learn it a little bit before you go into the advanced. All right, so one other nice thing is that during the event, you get an additional R&D package bonus. So, when you claim your reward at the end, when you select the marks that you want, you get this reward box. And during the event, you actually get this, an advanced Q R&D material. Oh, this is, sorry, my apologies. This is actually because this is an R&D weekend going on right now. So let me pull up the calendar here. There's actually 2 events going on right now. One is the R&D weekend, which is this right here, Research and Development Weekend, that runs through the 23rd. And the Crystalline Entity Event goes all the way to the 4th. So, oh no, sorry, the 9th. The 9th, yep. Yep, just to make sure, all the way to the 9th. So that's more than 14 days. So if you miss a few days, you don't have to worry too much. You'll still be able to complete your project. But for this weekend, on top of that, you also get this little bonus reward that I'm showing right here. So when you open up your reward from the queue itself, you get an advanced Q R&D material weekend bonus package. And you open up the bonus package, and it just gives you a few more random materials. But it can give you some good blue materials, like here I got tetrazine gas, but probably one you're mostly would be looking for is like rubidium, which is used in all kinds of upgrade if you're crafting upgrades. So that's another little bonus if you run the event during the weekend. Alrighty then, so why don't I finish up here with one last thing. So like I said, I've actually I actually have enough crystalline shards to complete the project. So why don't I go and do that? Let's go right here. I'm going to go ahead and contribute, and boom. So it completes right away, and I'm going to go ahead and collect the reward here. There we go, 50,000 dill, 500 fleet marks, and the console, and collected rewards, and okay, so and then you get your choice. Again, I'm pretty well set on most of the reputation marks. I mostly am going for fleet marks on this character. So that gave me another 250, looks like, okay? So you get a 250 marks of your choice. Alrighty, so here is the console. Crystalline Entity Absorption Matrix. I want to test this sucker out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slap this. Yeah, I'm going to slap this. I'll just replace my constriction anchor for now. I'm going to slap this on my ship here. I'm going to head over to, I guess my favorite testing place would be Argala. So let's head over to Delta Quadrant. And hell, why not? Let's actually see this thing in action, see if it's worth it, huh? This is actually the first time I've actually stocked up the crystalline shards from the previous event. I almost totally forgot that I did that. And you know, hey, why not? Let's take a look at the console right now. In particular, I want to see if the clicky is worth it, because I actually think the passives on it are quite good. You know, if you're in a ship like this with 5 engineering consoles, you know, why not throw this into an engineering console and give yourself, you know, some extra bonus anti-proton damage. Let's go ahead and transwarp here to get it a little faster. Give yourself some anti-proton damage and damage resistance rating. Now, before I jump into Argala, I don't know why it went flying way past there, but before we jump in here, why don't I do want to make it at least advanced so we can actually get a fair test. Okay. All right, let's head in and check out this console. I'm also very curious to see the visual look. A lot of these consoles have a nice, flashy, cool-looking visual. And I'm curious to see if this one is also the same. Now, where did the clicky actually go here? Oh, there it is. Crystalline Absorption Matrix. I'm going to throw it, I guess, over here. And I think I'll pop it. Let me just go in here and quickly. Looks like we got Erosion here. I'm not going to pop any cooldowns right now. I'm going to wait to do that for this next section here. You know, right after this, when the 4 enemies spawn in, I think that will be an ideal time. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my threatening stance there. Yeah, right when they warp in. Now, I'm going to try this without any cooldowns going, okay? And we'll just want to see how this goes. Just like its own base damage with nothing else going. Okay, here we go. It's on. I don't even see it. 4, 3, 2... Is it doing anything? Oh, is it? No? Okay, must be going crazy because I did not see any kind of a visual indicator there. So let's try that again. I was expecting to see like beams coming out in my frontal arc. I guess I didn't really see it, but I'll try again here. And another, let's give it a, let me use this. I don't know if that affects anything. I think it does. Yeah, I didn't see anything coming out. So I'm not quite sure if it was doing anything or not. He placated me. Annoying Hirogen. But I'll give another shot here in just a few more seconds. All right, 7 seconds. And it'll be coming back up. Now, what I want to do is let me finish up this guy, get out of combat again, and just try it on its own. I really want to see just kind of what it does as its own base damage. Now, when I mouse over it, yeah, it's saying 720 anti-proton damage. Now, combat. Well, I guess I'll try it on the end encounter of the patrol mission. Wow, superior tech upgrade? I don't think I've ever gotten a superior tech upgrade from an Argala run. Okay, let's get out of combat here. I would like to make sure all my buffs are down. I just want to see what the console does on its own. Is there a max range? Maybe I wasn't close enough? Possibly? Okay, so let's approach here. I think I'm well out of combat. Everything is settled down. Okay, so let's do this. Now, it's on. Oh, there it goes. $733. Yeah. Not the most impressive damage, I'm not gonna lie. Now, of course, I wasn't really doing anything as far as buffing. Now, what I would like to do is one more test, but it's going to take a little while here. The Benthans might actually destroy it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out of combat here. Oh, the Benthans came towards me. Okay. Let this cool down, and what I think I'm going to do is use all my cooldowns. I definitely want to see if probability manipulation also helps the damage and crit of that. Because that could be interesting. If you buff everything up, also maybe if your attack captain use attack pattern alpha might also buff it. That would be a good potential way to improve it. Adaptive energy systems. Yeah, I could use that as well. Could use pretty much every buff in the book. 20 seconds. He's getting close again. Stupid Benthans keep drawing him in. Although they're taking all the damage, they're not bothering me right now. Okay, 7 seconds. Alright, time to start buffing up. Let's turn probability manipulation on. Let's get this going, let's get this going, let's get that going, let's get that going. And...
Core shields failing.
It's too hard to tell. Now... gosh, it's too hard to tell. I've had so much going on there, I couldn't even see if the numbers were happening. Too much with the Benthans and everything. So let me just say, I think I need to do a little more testing on that. And parse it out and actually see what it's doing. I would say initially its base damage is not that impressive, not gonna lie. It wasn't that impressive. It is kind of nice because it does shoot out periodic beams for the 15-second duration, but I would say it's more useful probably for its defensive cooldown at this point, and the passives. The passives are nice too, but it's a little too early to definitively say that. I want to do more testing to see if there are things that will buff up the damage output. Alrighty, but I think that covers pretty much everything I wanted to as far as the event is concerned. Hopefully that was useful to everyone. They can at least see, at least saw the visual effect of the console, and you saw the stats of the console and the Crystalline Entity Q itself. You can give a little demonstration of that, and a little overview of the event itself and how you queue up slot up the project. Oh yeah, that's right. There is one thing else you should be aware of is once you complete the main project, there is actually a sub-project that you can do. It only takes 1 crystalline shard, and it gives you 2,000 dill, 50 fleet marks, and 35 reputation marks of your choice. So this is kind of incentive if you want to continue doing the event even after you've completed the main project with the 14 crystal shards. You can keep doing the event and get 1 crystal shard per day and complete this project once per day for a little bit of dill. I would say if you want the dill, it's probably worth it. Otherwise, you might just want to hang on to the crystal shards until until the next event. Alright, so I think that about covers it. So I would say a modest thumbs up to the console, to the reward. With a little more testing, it might show that the damage output can be significant. But right now, even just with the defensive cooldown and the passives, it's still a pretty decent console. Particularly if you don't have like the good, you know, the uber low-buy consoles or anything else good to put in your engineering slots, it could be a good fill in for those. And remember, you got to do this event on all of your alts. There's no account-wide reclaim for this reward. So yeah, just keep in mind you got to do that on all of your alts. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed, everyone. Hopefully it was informative and gave you a little bit of some tips on how to complete the event, and hopefully it was a little bit informative as well as to the console and how it actually performs in combat. Again, give it a try, do some testing on it. I will be doing some testing as well, and it's still a little too early to do a final verdict on the console, but it's, you know, hey, it's a good console. It's worth it. This event itself is quick and easy to do, and you know, hey, why not? It's a free console, and you know, the other rewards from the event are good as well. So there's no reason not to. So I would say, yeah, good event. You know, good thing to participate in. Definitely worth it for the, you know, modest or very small amount of time it takes per day. All right, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Bye for now.